Hello English 10, this is Miss Long, and this is the video to walk you through the third session of Unit 1, and that is our continuing unit on a book of your choice. So I just want to walk you through what's involved this week in our assignments. So as always, you have a list of the assignments at the beginning of your unit, at the beginning of your session. This week there are 5, even though it's a 4-day week, one of them is super quick. So that's kind of how I came up with that. The first one is to take a look at the MAP practice test that you will be taking. Most of you have been contacted about taking that test, and there's a 9-question practice test just so that you get a feel for the test. So you're going to go to the website that's listed in here. You'll see a practice test that looks like this. You're going to click on Next, and you're just going to go through the types of questions they're going to ask. For this assignment, what you need to do is basically submit to me some evidence that you actually did complete that sample test. So one way you could do that is get a screenshot of the final page, or you can tell me about the types of questions that you saw, the kind of content, the types of questions, whether they are true, false, or multiple choice, or whatever, and what they're asking for in those questions. So that should be fairly simple and straightforward. This is due on Wednesday, and the purpose of it is to prepare you for those MAP tests that begin this week and then continue into next. Okay, and your second assignment for the week is to do a weekly journal on the subject of self-talk. And what this is basically that dialogue that's going through your head all the time, how you are supporting yourself and telling yourself you can do stuff, or perhaps you are commenting on, oh, mess that one up, your activities in a negative light. But it's to get you thinking about self-talk, both because it influences your ability to form new habits and because it influences your ability to learn. So there's a couple of recent news articles talking about self-talk and what a difference it makes. You're welcome to check those out. But spend approximately 20 minutes, that's about 2 to 3 substantive paragraphs and about a half page of writing, talking about your self-talk as a student and your self-talk as a reader or writer. And then you can generalize and think about the types of messages you give yourself in other areas of your life. How familiar are you with that self-talk? Are you able to stop the negative stream, and what works for you? Hopefully you'll find this to be a useful journal topic for not just English, but a lot of things. Your third assignment is to take a look at the book that you're reading as a piece of literature that relates to our real world. So, for example, some of you are reading Lord of the Flies, which deals with bullying. Well, in our world today, cyberbullying is still a concern. So what can we learn from this piece of literature that's written 70 years ago or 60 years ago about this topic of cyberbullying? Medical technology is increasingly giving us things like artificial organs. And is that any different than the experiment with Victor Frankenstein's experiment with biotechnology? Our perspective of Gatsby might be different if we look at the rich and the poor in the U.S. today. That was a time of the roaring 20s and great wealth, but there's a time now when we're facing a different kind of disillusionment. So how is that relevant? You're nervous about your smartphones and how you see ads for things you've been searching on when you pop up Google. That might relate to George Orwell's 1984. So hopefully you get the idea. I'd like for you to find something in an online newsletter or newspaper, a blog, something that relates to one of the key ideas in your book. And this discussion board is all together, but you're going to share something that looks a little bit like this example here with mice and men. Give a brief summary of your book. Don't spoil it by telling the endings. Not everyone's read it, and you want to try to interest other people. Give a link to a news article or other text that relates that book to something in our society, and then explain how the ideas in your book would give us perspective in dealing with that current issue. And then you'll want to come back and respond to 2 or more students. I'll just point out that I went ahead and added the blog in, the discussion board rubric in here, so that just you could remember what it is that you need to do to get full points on that. So hopefully we'll have some good discussion from that. I know it's a short week, but I'd like to see some more good discussion. Your fourth assignment then is to go to the Wiktionary and post 2 more words. And this will be the last week of the Wiktionary. Next week we'll take a look at actually memorizing and retaining some of these words. You've been doing a great job of selecting them. I've been quizzing my sons, do you know, indignantly, or Do you know tumultuous? And they don't. So you're picking very high-level words, and most of you are using that strategy where you replace the word, you make the sentence, and you say the word that would fit in that sentence. You've been using that really well. So I'm pleased with what I've seen. So continue that, and then the last thing, those important quotations from your text, and about 8 to 10 of those, and anything that looks important for understanding this as a piece of literature, this as something that contains universal ideas, themes. You don't want to just grab a sentence that doesn't really have any significant import, but I think if it strikes your attention, it probably is something that's worth grabbing. And just a reminder, you'll be using that next week, and then the following week, as you wrap up, you're going to be doing an oral presentation on your book. You're going to be creating like a 5-minute PowerPoint or Prezi presentation, or perhaps video if you're really tech savvy, and sharing that in small groups online. So you're going to want to have evidence from your book that you can support your presentation with. I'm also, as part of that presentation, going to ask you to take questions from other students. So be sure you know your book well when we get to that point. So that's it for this week. I hope you guys had a great 3-day weekend and are charged up again for another week. Be in touch with any questions. Have a good week.